The machine never meant to bring you here. Something in the calibration flickered, skipped, and instead of the sterile platform that should have been your exit, you step into a forest that exhales mist like lungs too ancient to rest. The first thing you notice is weight. Not your own, though the suit presses with its familiar grip, but the weight of air itself. Heavy, wet, clinging. The fog coils around your visor in thin streaks that blur edges into smears. Your breath rattles in the helmet, the filters struggling with the moisture. Every inhale tastes like drowning. Then vibration. Not sound at first, but a tremor that climbs your boots, crawls up your calves, and seizes your ribs. The earth itself is quivering, shifting under a rhythm too vast for anything human. You freeze, trying to parse the pulse, but the forest supplies the answer. Out of the vapor, a shadow unfolds. Long as a hill, moving slow as the tide, its bulk swaying with terrible patience. A sauropod. Its neck arcs upward into the fog, disappearing as if stitched into the sky. You never see its head, only the swinging mass of its tail cleaving space like a pendulum. Branches snap against its flanks. Trees crumple as though made of wax. The animal does not pause. It does not notice. It remakes the forest with each step, pressing paths that are not paths but scars. The air fills with groans of wood and the low thunder of its breath, so deep your helmet hums in resonance. You take one step back, and the ground betrays you. A hollow beneath the moss gives way, your boots sinking, balance shuddering. You fling an arm out to the nearest trunk, steadying yourself before the sound of your stumble betrays you. The shadow halts. A silence heavier than the tremor floods the mist. For one heartbeat, the forest seems to hold its breath. The sauropod shifts. The tail arcs, a column of muscle and bone sweeping through vapor. You feel it before you see it. The gust of displaced air hammering against your suit, pressing your chest into your spine. Then the dark wall of flesh slides past, grazing trunks into splinters. Could have crushed you without noticing. Still could if you stand wrong, if you breathe wrong. Through the fog, another vibration rises. More of them, multiple steps spaced wide, shaking the soil like drums of a procession. The forest is alive with columns of flesh, walking mountains weaving their invisible routes. The mist hides their bodies but not their reach. You realize the rules here are not written for you. The ground is theirs. The paths are theirs. Every shadow in the fog is a weight that can undo you in a heartbeat. Your visor catches a thinning in the mist, a faint corridor where air moves freer, where your sight stretches just enough to glimpse more than a blur. A window in the fog. For a moment, you see the forest as terrain instead of drowning dream. Then the haze folds back, sealing you in blindness. The truth lands with cold precision. Survival here is not about strength or speed or will. It is about finding these windows, following where the mist thins, because anywhere else the forest is broken by bodies too vast to predict. The ground shakes again. Another path collapses. You know what you must do. Stay within the windows. Where it clears, there lies the way. You walk into the fog and feel it swallow you whole. The suit protects your skin from the damp, but not your mind. Every sound bends inside this haze. A single drip from a leaf echoes like a hammer. Your own breathing seems amplified, the rasp of filters against your throat. The forest presses in from all sides. Trees rise like pillars, their crowns tangled far above, unseen, knitting the mist into deeper knots. The ground is uneven, littered with trunks cracked by centuries of storms, or by the weight of creatures too large for memory. Each step is a negotiation. Moss-slick ridges, roots thicker than your arms, puddles that reflect nothing but white air. The mist does not stay still. It coils, rearranges itself, closes over your visor as though alive, though you know it is only air heavy with moisture and spores. Still, the sensation is of a shifting wall that chooses what you see. Sometimes you glimpse 3 meters, sometimes only 1, then nothing, and always, beneath this blindness, the tremors. The ground does not rest. Even when you think silence holds, a vibration will return. A slow thud, the interval stretching long enough to make you doubt. Yet it comes again, undeniable, shaking the marrow of your bones. You pause, crouch, try to steady your breathing. The earth quivers faintly, and from the mist you hear a sound so deep it feels like the forest itself groaning. Not a roar, not a threat, merely breath expelled by lungs the size of caverns. The realization burns inside you. These creatures are not predators. They do not hunt you. You are too small for notice. And yet their indifference is more dangerous than any hunger. You imagine their feet, each one broad enough to crush a boulder into powder, pressing blindly through the fog. A single step misplaced, and you would be gone without trace, folded into the soil. Bones and metal compressed into a memory the forest does not keep. You move again, cautious. The windows of thinner mist are your only guides. Where the fog loosens, you can glimpse a corridor, a safer thread between the trunks. You cling to these openings as though they were oxygen. Yet they close quickly, leaving you trapped again in the blur. There are other signs of danger. Branches above snap and fall without warning, dislodged by distant bodies brushing against crowns. Once, the crash of timber nearly takes you to the ground, the shockwave rattling your helmet. You scramble aside, heart hammering, as a tree the height of a tower collapses just meters away, its fall invisible until the final heartbeat. The air thickens with spores that cling to your visor in faint golden dust. Your filters hiss harder, adjusting, but the staleness of your breath reminds you. They are not eternal. Each inhale is slower, heavier, as if the forest is testing how long you can carry your own air before surrendering to its damp lungs. Then there are the echoes, not from the sauropods but from smaller lives. Sharp cries, distant trills, the rustle of wings that never break the mist into sight. At times, you sense things circling above, perched among crowns you cannot see. The fear is not that they watch you, but that you will stumble into their range before you ever glimpse them. Yet the true weight pressing against you is scale. This is not a world built for you, but one sculpted for giants. Every fallen trunk is a barricade. Every print in the soil is a crater. The environment is not hostile by choice. It simply does not notice your existence. And that indifference is the most suffocating truth. You whisper inside the helmet, though no sound leaves, that you must not lose the windows. The clearer air is your only compass. Step outside, and you are only another shadow in fog, waiting for a careless footfall or the sweep of a tail. The tremors return, heavier this time. The forest groans again, louder. The mist thickens, swallowing even the thought of distance. Somewhere ahead, the earth is already breaking. You stop. The mist coils tighter, but within it, the logic of survival begins to shape itself. You cannot command this forest. You cannot bend its rhythm, but you can learn how not to be erased by it. The first rule rises clear. Rule 1. Stay within the windows of mist. Where the fog loosens, you can see. And where you see, you live. Step into the dense swathes and you walk blind, surrounded by moving towers. If you wander into thickness, you will not notice the tremor until it is already upon you. A foot will fall, the weight absolute, and you will never even have time to raise your arms. The only paths are the ones the mist briefly reveals. Trust them, for there is nothing else. You shift your weight, scanning for one of these windows now. The air parts faintly ahead, thinner, clearer. You feel the rush of relief before you move toward it, knowing you are still obeying the only law that matters. Rule 2. Never follow the scars of broken trees. The temptation is obvious. A line of splintered trunks, already pressed open, promising easier travel. But these scars belong to the sauropods. They carve them unknowingly as they pass, and their routes are never still. To walk along one is to enter their domain, to gamble that they will not return by chance, their weight undoing you in silence. The broken paths are not for you. They are warnings, written in wood. You remember the collapse of the tree beside you, the sound of it striking the earth. If you had been one step closer, you would have been trapped under its weight before the tremors ever arrived. You breathe slower, promising yourself not to follow the scars. Rule 3. Keep contact with the earth. Each tremor is a message. The soil tells you when they walk, when they turn, when the unseen bodies shift. If you ignore it, if you move too quickly, you will lose the only sense that reaches farther than your eyes. The ground is a drum, and every footfall writes a pattern. Stand still when the rhythm grows heavy. Move only when the intervals stretch thinner. To forget the earth's voice is to move deaf, and in this forest, deafness is death. Rule 4. Avoid the crowns above. It feels safer to hug the bases of trees, to use their trunks as cover. But their crowns carry hidden weight. Branches snap under the brushing flanks of passing giants, falling in silence until the final heartbeat. If you lean too close, if you rest beneath them, you are a target for wood as heavy as stone. The ground is treacherous, but the sky here kills just as easily. Stay clear of the crowns. A faint clatter rings somewhere above, followed by the sound of debris striking moss. You step aside instinctively as a branch, long as a spear, sinks into the soil where you would have stood. The rule is confirmed in an instant. Rule 5. Guard your air. The filters strain already. Their hiss louder with every breath. The spores here are thick, invisible in places, golden in others. If they clog your system, the fog outside will become fog within, drowning you from inside your helmet. Move too fast, breathe too heavily, and you shorten the life of your air. Pace yourself even when the tremors drive panic into your bones. Suffocation will come slower than a footfall, but no less certain. The rules are clear, drawn from the forest's indifference. Obey, and you might move unseen between the walking mountains. Disobey even once, and the forest will not punish you. It will simply not notice you were ever there. The tremors swell again, closer this time. You press yourself into a clearing of thinner air, one of the windows, and wait. A shadow moves across the mist like a continent, silent but immeasurable. The rules hold you together. They are the only barrier between your body and the silence that waits to claim it. You walk by the rules. Step within the windows, pause with the tremors, avoid the scars, guard your air. For a time, it works. The forest allows your passage, though never with comfort. You move like a shadow stitched into mist, slipping between the blind weight of the giants. But the forest is not static. The rules keep you alive only as long as the world agrees to play along. It begins with the air. The filters grown louder than before, their rhythm uneven. Each breath comes damp, shallow, as though the machine has begun to drink the fog instead of purging it. You adjust the suit settings, but the hiss does not calm. Panic presses against your throat, forcing you to inhale faster. Already you are breaking Rule 5. Your vision wavers with the extra exertion. The fog thickens around you, swallowing the window you had trusted. In one heartbeat, you see the corridor clear. In the next, it is gone. Rule 1. Betrayed by time itself. You stand stranded, blind. The ground trembles. A heavy pulse closer than any before. You sink your glove into the soil, listening through your bones. Another step, then another, too close, too fast. Rule 3 tells you to stop, to freeze, but your lungs are heaving, filters choking, air clawing at you. Stillness feels like suffocation. You stagger forward, breaking the earth's rhythm, walking deaf into the tremor. The mist opens for a second. Not a window of safety, but a rupture of scale. Through it, you glimpse the flank of a sauropod. Gray skin ridged with folds, damp with dew. A wall of living matter so close it fills your vision like a cliff face. The animal exhales. The gust slams against your visor, droplets streaking down your glass, and the heat of its breath clogs your filters further. You stagger back, colliding with a trunk. The crown above responds. A branch snaps, shearing downwards with a scream of fibers. It strikes the earth where you had stood a second earlier, spraying shards of wood across your suit. Rule 4, broken by accident. You can no longer obey them all. The forest shifts into chaos. Tremors roll in overlapping patterns. Not one sauropod but many, their paths converging unseen. The ground vibrates too constantly to read. The earth's messages dissolve into noise. Rule 3 no longer applies. You cannot hear the pattern when every step is a drum. You try to find the scars of broken trees, desperate for any direction. Against every lesson, you follow one. The splintered trunks form a corridor, easier than clambering through roots and mud. Your pace quickens despite your lungs, though each inhale is ragged, heavy with spores. Then the truth of Rule 2 arrives. The tremors ahead swell into thunder. From the fog, a tail sweeps sideways across the scar, faster than belief. Passes so near the gust spins you, throwing you against a trunk. You cling to bark, your visor rattling with impact, the world spinning white. Had you been one step further along, the tail would have erased you. The scar collapses ahead as the sauropod reclaims its path. The corridor is gone. You press yourself into the moss, gasping, vision blurred with condensation. The rules fracture in your mind, no longer sequence but fragments. You cannot obey them all when each one contradicts the other. Guard your air, but breathe slowly, while the fog drowns you. Stay within windows, but they vanish without warning. Follow the ground, but the tremors overlap, unreadable. Avoid scars, but the forest walls you in with them. The rules were hope, but the forest is older than rules, older than your body, older than the thought of control. The mist thickens again, hiding everything, until you are no longer sure whether the tremors are outside or inside your chest. The forest closes in, and you know the rules have dissolved. Your suit heaves with each shallow breath, filters rasping like dying lungs. The hiss falters, then returns, then falters again. The fog outside has seeped inside, not as vapor but as weight pressing against your chest. You stumble, hands catching on bark slick with moisture. The visor is a blur of condensation, your own breath clouding your sight. You wipe at it, useless. The mist has invaded from both sides now. There are no windows left. The world has become one continuous wall of white. The tremors do not stop. They overlap, syncopated, a confusion of rhythms that no longer tell direction. Each one feels closer than the last. You kneel, glove pressed to the soil, trying to listen, trying to resurrect Rule 3. But the ground is only chaos, vibrating as if the whole forest is moving at once. Somewhere ahead, a shadow swells. You glimpse a flank again, vast and gray, skin rippling with the effort of its steps. The giant is so close you feel its body hum through your own bones. You do not move. You cannot move. The instinct to freeze is stronger than any plan. But freezing has its own cost. Your lungs scream for deeper air. The filters whine as spores clog their mesh. The more you hold yourself still, the more your chest sears. You break the stillness, gasping, dragging fog deeper into your helmet. A cough racks through you, and the sound bounces back, trapped, deafening. The sauropod does not react. It does not need to. Its foot falls with a slow inevitability, shaking bark loose from trunks all around you. Splinters rain down. Another branch crashes, bursting into fragments beside your knee. You are nothing to it, an insect beneath tides. And yet you feel as though its indifference is a kind of crushing attention. You stagger sideways, seeking escape, but there is no corridor, no thinning mist. Every direction is identical. The rules told you where the way was, but the rules are gone, erased by the scale of this place. You lurch forward anyway, a blind animal in a labyrinth of white. The tremors intensify. 2, then 3, then 4 giants converging. Their bodies must be close, though you cannot see more than a vague shift of darkness. They are pillars moving through fog, colliding with trunks, remaking the forest. The air reverberates with their breathing, like furnaces hidden in vapor. You realize then what the forest has always been. Not paths, not safe windows, not rules, but motion. Endless, unyielding motion of bodies larger than imagination. The mist only hides their true proximity until the moment of impact. You were never moving through a landscape, you were moving between moving walls. Your filter seize. The hiss cuts to silence. You gulp at dead air, fogging the visor with desperate breath. Your chest convulses, muscles straining against emptiness. You stagger, fall to your knees, the moss slick and cold beneath your gloves. The forest sways above you, crowns dissolving into nothing. The tremors close in from every side. The ground itself is no longer steady. It quakes as though drowning. You press your palm against it, Not to read the rhythm, but simply to feel it, to let the final vibrations enter your body. They are not warnings anymore. They are the last sound you will carry. You lift your head one last time. Through the visor, through the fog, through the blur of your own breath, you glimpse a shadow, an immense pillar rising, then descending. The earth prepares to break. And in that instant, your final thought is not of the rule you should have followed, but of the silence that will come after. A silence where the mist will close, the forest will breathe, and nothing will remember you were ever here.